Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of Words and Music, the literary festival for New Orleans by New Orleans to serve New Orleans better. We're so happy to talk about our great lineup this morning before we get rolling with the Youth Poetry Workshop with Quartez Harris. So today, after the workshop, you can look forward to Justice and Inclusiveness of Vision in the Modern Southern Periodical, which is a discussion with 3 crackerjack editors of the Oxford American, Scalawag, and the Bitter Southerner, and that will be moderated by New Orleans' own Maurice Carlos Ruffin. After that, we have a cocktail demonstration with Andy Borbley, who's going to talk about literary-themed cocktails and debut something he's created especially for us. We've got a midday music performance today with Robin Barnes. We have also Picturing New Orleans, which is local photographers talking about their work. We have Mystery in Motion, African American Spirituality and Mardi Gras, curated by Kim Vaz DeVille, who we all know and love. We have Heartbreak or Research, Poets on the Writing Process, curated by Stacy Balkin and featuring 6 crackerjack women poets. We always love it when we have a powerhouse group of the ladies talking to one another. And we're capping off this evening with an evening with John Warner Smith, who is the Louisiana Poet Laureate, who will be interviewed by Christopher Lewis Romaguera. So if you guys caught our first event on Thursday, the interview with Nio Sundare, you got a little bit of Chris's writing style and a little bit of his interview style. So we're really excited to see what he brings. All right, don't forget that at any point, even if you're not watching live, if you're watching these things later, the links are live even when we are not. So don't forget that you can donate to support this festival. It's accessible as whatever you can give, right? Whether that's $1, whether that's $1,000, because we really want this to be a community festival brought to you and supported by you. So thank you guys all for those donations that have come in. Keep them coming. We really appreciate you. And I am going to go ahead and stop talking, except to say that don't forget also throughout the day, you can buy books powered by Tubby and Coos at our festival bookstore. Yes. So there's a link in the comment section on both Facebook and YouTube. You can also go to wordsandmusic.org, not only to see the schedule I just did, but also to click on the link for the virtual bookstore, which is on the homepage of wordsandmusic.org. You can also, if you're in the comments section, you can click the link to donate. You can text WAM20, WAM for Words and Music, to 44321 to support the festival. You can also go to your PayPal and send money to wordsandmusicnola@gmail.com. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Quartez Harris, who is an educator from Cleveland, whose first full-length book is about to drop, and who is going to set the poetry world on fire. Last week, we watched this. We did this in real time, and we recorded it. So you really get a chance to see what Quartez can do with a small, intimate group of students. And we're really excited to share that with a larger group this morning. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Words and Music Day 3. See you in a few.
Hey guys, my name is Quartez Harris. I am here with Words and Music Festival in New Orleans, and I am really excited to do something really fun. Really, it was this workshop is in a lot of ways built off of a workshop that Raja had shared with me, and I did my own research and I came up with the workshop I'm going to present you with. So so what we're going to do is, when I think of poetry, I think of I think about how hard it is to write. I personally, as a writer, I don't romanticize writing. Writing is always a grueling, difficult assignment. And I think it's important that you find techniques and ways in which you can generate ideas, stimulate creativity, And I think the workshop that I'm going to present to you is certainly going to sort of help you to sort of like, reimagine your possibilities with writing, get your mind going, and just get your imagination running wild. But before I do that, I want to just briefly say that something you should know about me is that I am someone who really have a reverence for metaphors, and I do believe that metaphors is the effect of an entire poem. That's not to say that every poem has to be like, brewing with metaphors, but it is to say that if you have a powerful theme in your poem, I think a metaphor will certainly bring it out, make it come alive. I really believe in like brilliant detailed visualizations, and I think that is accomplished through metaphor. So I'm always holding people that I work with to just reimagine how they can get a reader to see something as if it's new, see something afresh. So when we go through our workshop, and once if I may challenge you to like, yeah, you can go deeper. You can go deeper. You can actually be a little bit more visual. So that is that. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna just share my screen real quick, and we're gonna just go from there. I like to think I'm a pro at this whole Zoom thing because I'm a remote teacher. So when I heard we was doing Zoom, I'm like, hey, I got this. I think I got it. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna share my PowerPoint. Okay. All right. So, Roger had talked to me about blackout poems, and I know that you guys, if you're in the fellowship, you did a blackout poem, and I thought it might be cool if we do something that's almost like an extension of that, which is called magnet poetry. And I'm gonna just scroll over here so you can see exactly what that definition is. So magnet poetry is a form of found poetry where the words in existing poems are cut, rearranged to form a new poem. So what that means is that when we are using the technique of a magnet poem or poetry, it's used to generate new poems, new possibilities, but to find poems within an original poem or original text. And I do this a lot. And what that looks like is, it looks like you taking the time to rearrange words, change spacing and lines, that's an option, add or delete a word. You could move words and phrases around. Ultimately, it's like refurnishing new meaning. And it's cool, I like to think of it as play. If you are up against writer's block, I think this is a really good method, because what you'll find is as you begin to like rearrange words, add words, cut words, play, have fun, original lines begin to appear. And I think and it didn't really occur to me that I was doing this when I wrote, when I, sometimes I've done this a lot. I didn't have the language for it. I didn't know that this was actually a technique until I did some research. I'm like, I do this quite a bit to kind of get my juices flowing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share, and I don't know if this was Michelle's intention when she sort of wrote in response to my poem called Boys, but I think this is in a form of like magnet poetry. So like when I was reading her poem in response to my poem, like, this is magnet poem, found poetry. Like she added her own phrases. She removed certain phrases, and she created her own thing within my poem. She created a whole new poem. And Roger, could you please do the honors of reading this? Are you there, Roger?
I can't, I don't think you're sharing your screen.
You gotta be kidding me. Oh my I thought I was a master at this. Come on now. This whole time, y'all just now telling me. Hold up, let me see this screen.
It's like we can still follow what you were saying. So I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, I need y'all to see the screen. Hold on. Can you see it now?
Yeah, it says you are sharing screen.
Now, what about now?
Yes. Well, I see.
You can see it now?
Yes, you're moving through the
It says magnet poetry?
Yes.
Okay, so boom, okay. So that's the definition of magnet poetry. And this is, so The Boys is my original piece. And I like to think that Michelle, whether it was intentionally or unintentionally, because sometimes we do things as writers and we don't realize we're doing it. I like to think that she created a magnet poem out of my poem. And I wanted to know, Roger, if you didn't mind. Actually, I can read boys, and do you mind reading girls? The next poem, which says analogies to boys?
Yeah.
Okay. And this poem her poem is entitled Girls, my poem is entitled Boys. And so let me start that right now. So there we were, hanging around, drinking and smashing soda cans, smoking black in mouths, telling jokes, shadow boxing, trying to build a muscle out of anything, trying to evoke fear into our unreal enemies, and waiting for a reputation to justify our rage. We were armed with fists, possibly invincible, undisputed, hood, unruly, and prisoner. There was Main Street, which led off to some larger road called Freeway. It seemed the world was bigger than East Euclid, but no one reassured us, being young and small. We didn't know Springfield, Ohio, was larger than a penitentiary, clueless looking boys, gleaming with possibilities, afraid to create a crease in our Air Force shoes, desperate for dad's attention. Wish the pastor at my church let my boys and I borrow the piano after Sunday school. Give our hands something else to experiment with. Instead of pulling nails from our palms, this is how we live. This is how we die. Your turn, Raja.
There we were, hanging around, snapping and popping, double bubble, jutting tips and hips, pouting lips, sexually sucker punching those niggas, trying to make a movie out of anything that happened, trying to stoke desire into our not yet exes, waiting for a come on which would justify our anticipation. We were armed with lust, impossibly open, unbroken, sweet, unready, and oh so pretty. There was the future, which led off to some magical thing called marriage. It seemed the world might be bigger than the circle of some boy's ashy arms, but no one reassured us. Being so young, we didn't know growing up meant more than wrapping folks in our bodies like we were blankets. Fast-acting girls, glittering with unknown gifts, afraid to create anything a man couldn't imagine, desperate for a dad's validation. Wish the mothers at my church let my girls and me know how bad it hurt to be knocked up. Gave our bodies something else to want rather than brokenness and babies. Thinking, of course, this is what we are made for. This is how we become women.
Thank you, Raja. So if this is a free space, if anyone want to share out any glimmers of like things that they noticed that were words that were deleted or omitted and replaced for another word, any phrases that were rearranged or deleted and replaced with another line of choice, or their overall effect or reaction to this poem, these poems. Oh, I'm sorry. Because like when I was reading this poem, I noticed like when I opened the poem, like she used my original line of "There we were hanging around." She said, "There we were hanging around, snapping," and I wrote "drinking and popping. So she said popping double bubbles, jumping tits and hips. And I'm literally seeing how she was able to, like, based on what I wrote, she was able to create a text, extend a metaphor, apply her own word choices. And I thought this was just a really cool example of magnet poetry, how you can, like, she created a whole new poem that was grounded in my original text. And I thought, like, I'm like, yo, we have to do this. I want to see what in this space, because on the next slide, we have a poem by Denzel Smith. And I have another poem too, but I want to challenge us on the next slide to generate our own magnet poetry or poem. Any comments, anybody? Yay or nay?
I love how, like, the poems, like, kind of like compared against each other. It shows like the expectations for boys and girls. Like, for boys, a lot of like violence, you know, just like hardcore stuff. And those girls, it's just like, how can I be so sexual, so pretty for a man? I just think that's really interesting to think about.
Yeah, the expectation of boys versus expectation for girls. The parallels too in some ways. Any other thoughts? Thank you, young man, for sharing. What's your name again?
Deontay.
Thank you, Deontay. I appreciate your observation, man. That was really heavy.
No problem.
You know what I just love about this type of work is, you know, coming from the hip hop idiom and the hip hop culture. I love the fact that it's allowing poets and literary artists to engage in the art of the remix in a way that a DJ or a producer would remix the original composition, the original track. They would create, you know, the remixes of it. And this is a way for literary artists to remix one another's work in and out of that same tradition. So I love that contemporary writers are able to borrow from one another's work and remix each other's work. So part of what I love about this is Deontay, for example, might write a piece that that Ayana might really love and respect, and Ayana can then take that piece and remix it. And I love that. I think you know, you and Michelle are able to do that. You know, as contemporaries are able to do that. I just love it. I love this. Those are my thoughts.
And Dante, I like how you made that comparison of like remixing a song. That I never even thought about that being a parallel like that. Yeah, wow, a remixing or a remake. And that said, I mean, I want us to challenge. I want to challenge all of us to remake this poem. If you haven't, so something I'm going to share, and I know Daniel, you know this just as well. The importance of like reading. I know they say in theory, I think we should all be reading more than we write. And I think when we don't even realize it, but when we're reading the works of other writers, in a way we're remixing unknowingly, because we are impacted by their writing through our own readership, and we can reimagine what's possible. We can give ourselves permission to allow our imaginations to run wild. And I think that's what reading has done for me. Is I like to think I am more of a reader than I am a writer. And so I can appreciate someone who took the time to read my own work, and it goes to show you what the possibilities of when you read someone's work, you can ultimately refurbish, you know, reimagine your own work, body of work, and honoring someone who came before you. And I have wrote plenty of poems in response to, I wish, you know, now that I think about it, me and Roger did a poem, and actually, dang, Roger, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Why didn't I bring this up? And we might have to find these poems and do that and share that on this space. But Roger wrote a poem, one of my favorite poems. It was Hounds, and I wrote a poem in response to her poem. Remember that, Roger?
Yeah.
would you and you know, during the course of this workshop, would you mind finding that poem? And I'm gonna, you know, at some point try to find it too and see if we can like share that poem before we leave today.
Wait,
I think that might be.
You want me to find the poem I wrote after your poem?
No, we can do both, you know. But it don't have to be right now, of course, you know, because I want us to actually write our own. But I'm saying like we can at some point you can look for that poem and I'll look for mine, and then we can share it if we have time. Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right, cool. See, that just came to my mind. I wish I would have had planned it for that in advance, but ain't nothing wrong with you recreating on the spot. So yeah, so we're gonna do this next poem. I am going back to Minnesota where sadness makes sense. And this is by one of my favorite poets, writers, Denzel Smith, brilliant writer. I mean, the way he reimagines visualizations, I think, and the way he's able to use, in a sense, simple language to recreate poems, I think it's amazing. And I thought it'd be cool if we do this poem and we, you know, wherever we're from, we'll start the poem with, you know, I'm from Ohio, so oh, Ohio. If you're from New Orleans, oh, New Orleans, you know, and we can try to make a response piece, a magnet piece based on this poem. So this is our source material. Source material just means like what original text we'll be using. In this case, we'll be using Denzel's original piece. And then we would choose a focus. And what that means is you don't necessarily have to just focus on the entire body of work. You can maybe focus on the first line or the first stanza and recreate, and that could be your focus. Or you could focus on the entire body of work and then write in response to that. So to be clear, I know Michelle, looked like her focus was the entire body of my work, but you can just focus on, pick a stanza of your choice that really strikes a chord. For me, it's too much light makes me nervous. At least in this land where the trees always bear green, I know something that doesn't die can't be beautiful. I love that. So I might just focus on that and build my poem from those lines. Determine the theme of your poem. So when you're responding to someone's poem or reimagining someone's poem, doing a magnet poem, you don't necessarily have to adhere to their theme, the theme that they're choosing. You can create your own theme within their body of work, which I think is cool. There's many possibilities. And yeah, you know, I would say we could read this poem. We definitely want to read a poem, maybe twice. So we could read it. I could read it or someone else could read it. And then before you start writing, you can read to yourself to kind of, you know, make sure that you're grounded in this and kind of help develop a sense of ideas for yourself. And as you read, underline. I mean, of course you can't underline, but you can if you have a notebook or, you know, your Word, Microsoft Word open or whatever, Google Docs. Instead of underline, I'm assuming you could just write down phrases or details that you think are powerful and that can support and enrich your focus. Cutting out words or phrases or add words or phrases. So you can cut out words or phrases that you rather not use. You don't have to use every single word in this poem. Or you can add your own style of words, your own style of phrases. And cut words that don't seem to fit with the theme. So if there's anything that just seems to be like far-fetched, and it's just a comparison that may not just be too unrelated or a theme too unrelated, you can feel free to cut it and sort of kind of like strengthen the body of work. So yeah, any questions I would like for us to maybe spend, I don't know, we have maybe, I think, what y'all thinking, like 15 minutes is good enough time? 15, 20?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we could, I guess we could do 15 minutes and I can just check back in. And are y'all comfortable writing in response to this poem?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So I'm about to start the timer. And yeah, I'll check back in like 15 minutes. I'm so excited to hear you guys' work. I'm gonna play some my little music if you don't mind. Minimize, I'm gonna come back.
Hi all, you might notice that we are fast forwarding a little bit. That is because we do not own the rights to this music and we do not want to violate copyright laws. So if you're wondering why the video seems to be skipping forward a little bit in time, that is why. We're not getting in trouble today.
Right.
No, we're not.
No, we ain't never ready. Poems are never finished. How we feeling?
Did you guys just hear my niece talking to me?
Yeah, did she write a poem too?
No, I didn't realize I was unmuted. She just came in here and started.
Oh yeah, she sounds so cute.
Well, she's adorable.
Mm-hmm. She sounds adorable. So I'm gonna minimize. I'm gonna come back. Exit the screen. Okay. All right. Oh, stop. And what's up? All right. Okay. Do we have any volunteers that want to share first? It don't have to be finished because it may never be finished. Any brave volunteers? Do y'all want me to go first? Okay. I guess that's a yes. Can y'all hear me? Okay, we're good. All right, so I guess it only makes sense, I suppose, for me to go first. So I'm going to just share what I wrote. And I think my theme is like when you feel conflicted with, because I'm originally from Springfield, Ohio. Lived in Columbus through finished high school in Columbus, went to college in Columbus, and moved to Cleveland. So like, I guess the theme of this poem is more so like the when you feel kind of bad for not wanting to go back home or where you were born, your birthplace, because you feel like you have a right to be there, but you don't want to be there. And the title is I'm going back to Springfield, Ohio, where sadness makes sense. And I just basically, like we've been talking about, I just reimagined, wrote in response to it. It is certainly not finished. Please forgive me. So that starts off like this. Oh, Springfield, Ohio. I didn't know that you was only a sad God. Had I prayed for you. I'm over tearing you down. I just stood there as you crashed from heaven, bricks falling out of the sky like prayers falling from grace. I know I am wrong for leaving without saying amen with my lips. Too much darkness makes me darker. At least in the land where the trees grow into crosses, always bearing bloody leaves, I know something that died can't be born again. Have you ever stood on the porch of the house where you grew up in, Springfield? Dark clouds above and below you, the leaves and grass crumbling into ashes, a field of sins, all demanding for you to come back. Everything around you is dark until you say, being here is gorgeous. And if you stay too long, your home will baptize you. It's so sad, not wanting to go back home, the only warm sheets, the only thing that won't kill you. That's his temp. So hopefully somebody was inspired to go. Somebody said they're going to go next. Who was that? I can't see. Thank you, Megan, for the hand claps. Whoever said they're going to go next, you may go next.
It's me, Ayana.
Hey, Ayana. I'm so excited to hear your poem.
It's not finished, but that's okay.
Poems are never finished.
That's true. All demanding to be God, the sun. How can the sun be God if you starve him? Surrounding darkness is deadly, stripped bare, it will kill you. the lackluster of breath. Mortal sacred ground divides immortality, mirrors the damned and living. Twisted hymns rhythmic in adoration, exchanged imperfection chains to light. That's all I have.
Twisted hymns and perfections change the light. Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Thank you.
How did that feel though? Like, how did that feel? Like, how was that process for you?
I liked it. I feel like it helped me. I took, the few lines that I really liked and then just started to, like you said, exchange them and change them. And it really just helped me just envision what I wanted and just take from that.
And I like how you said it helped me to envision what I wanted. And the cool thing about that is you don't actually have to use poems. You can use newspaper articles. You can use, it's almost like, think of it as a collage. You can use anything. Hell, you could probably use instructions behind a manual. Like, you can use anything. And that's why I like this. So, I mean, I was grounded in poetry, but you can use virtually anything you want as long as I have words.
Thank you.
Megan, not Megan, because Megan's the host. Who else? Isabella, you want to share?
Yeah, I'll share.
Hey.
I don't know if I did this correctly because it's like my first time and I don't know what I'm doing, but I wrote a poem. So here it goes. 5 years ago, where have I been? Sitting as I watch my world spin. After school travels, my mind wanders down concrete lanes. When will I be able to break from these chains? My untied shoelaces trip, skip, and flip until I'm caught by my own mistakes. Rough concrete scrapes through the exposed skin on my shins. The sun will continue to rise and fall whether I choose to get up or not. Nothing changes as I watch my world spin, so I ask, where have I been? In this cycle, I will fall again and again. My own self-neglect will get in the way. 5 years down the line, and nothing has changed. The world spins despite my mind calling it a day.
Y'all hear that? The world spins in spite my mind calling it a day. The sun will rise and fall whether I get up. And I love the line, caught by my own mistakes. And I want to encourage you because you said something that was powerful. You said, I don't know what I'm doing, but I wrote a poem.
Yeah.
And I think you should always do that. I don't know what I'm doing, but I wrote a poem. And there you go. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I'm about to get tatted up today. I'm going to have all y'all lines on me. For the first time. Roger, what's up? What you got, Roger? I know you got something. I like that. Roger said nobody knows what they're doing.
I can share what I wrote, but I'll warn you, it's absolute nonsense. It's called I'm Going Back to the Sky Where My Fire Makes Sense. Have you ever stood on a frozen lake and tried to melt through the ice? So sad, demanding to be the sun, wanting to melt the world. Dip your toes in the leftover puddle. Don't you know the sun is only a star, not a god? You just want to be fired. You rage-filled miscreant. You want to see destruction in a flash of light. Want to be the cause. Want to rule something for once. What does that say? Oh, my handwriting. You feel like the only thing that can't shine and everything around you is light and it's gorgeous, and if you stay too long, it'll kill you. Don't forget the pain you feel isn't the world's fault. You don't have to burn it down. Be the sun. Warm thing for mine. Thaw that ice over everyone's heart instead of burning it down.
My God. And that was what? What was that? I like that. I like that. Don't you know the sun is a star, not a god. What was those last three lines?
I can try to read my handwriting again. Thaw the ice over everyone's heart instead of burning them down.
Can you go up one more time? A few more lines up.
Don't forget the pain you feel isn't the world's fault. You don't have to burn it down. Be the sun, the only warm thing for miles. Thaw that ice over everyone's heart instead of burning them down.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Chills, chills. You don't have to be the sun. Wow. That's power. Get out of here. I guess when we feel like we don't know what we're doing, our writing does. Thank you for sharing that, Raja. All of y'all great. Daniel, what you got? I know Daniel got something. Or
No,
Daniel,
sir.
What you got?
No, sir.
You ain't got nothing?
No, sir. I'm so sorry about that.
No, you good, man.
I really wanted to hear.
Yeah, you good. I'm just appreciate that you showed up, man.
Absolutely, I had to.
Yeah. So I mean, there you go. We created a poem in response, or we created a poem in response to someone's poem. We create a new poem out of someone's poem, and the funny thing is, we could all, if we had more time, we don't, this is just sort of like imaginary thinking. We could all, to prove my point, we could all write a poem in response to each other's poems. We could all do that, and we could keep writing response poems. And I think that's the really cool thing about response poems. So I think that's pretty much it. I want to, Roger, do you still want to do that, the poem we did? You did, we can do our responses to each other's poems?
If you want.
Yeah, I gotta find it. Yeah, let's do that. So I gotta find it though. Yeah, we should do that, Roger. Do you have your poems on you?
Well, Hounds is like in my head, and
I know the other one.
The other one, Elijah McClain in 3 parts. I have it in my folder.
Okay, I'm looking for mine right now.
I know it's in the crisis writing folder. In my crisis writing folder.
Okay. So as we look for these poems, thank you guys. I hope you were inspired. I hope you do this. Whenever you feel like you need some, I like what, I can't remember who said it, but well, I think it was you. Don't we have somebody else on here? I could have heard, I remember I heard a male's voice.
Oh yeah, he had to go earlier.
I had to go earlier? Okay. But someone, I think it was Ayana, she said, envision what I want. And I like that language. Yeah, if we need to envision what we want, we can always turn to this. You can do this one, and it's fun. I like it. It's really fun. Because you start to really like form original lines. And Raj, I'm assuming I never sent you those poems, right?
I don't know. Did you?
Because I'm like, where are they? I
mean, if you have Tamir in 3 parts, I've got Elijah McClain in 3 parts right here.
Yeah, let's do that. That makes sense. Let's do that. Okay. So yeah, so we're gonna do we did yeah, so we wrote response pieces and yeah, and I wrote Tamir in 3 parts, which is the original work, and Raja wrote a poem in response to that. And hopefully when she reads her poem of Hounds, I can find the original for my response to Hounds. Okay, so here we go. Tamir in 3 parts. Page 31. All right, okay. I learned how to draw by sketching Tamir's face in the dirt. with the stitches my mom beat into my spirit, to prevent me from becoming those kids who stood outside their bodies, trying to quarrel with the officer that killed them, as if they could hear the dead. My skin now hangs on a host of tree branches in my backyard. All around me are mirrors with lesions. When I look through them, I can see myself being gunned down by men dressed in robes. I told a cop once that when Tamir Rice was killed, he was reincarnated into a lightning bolt that contained every vault of Black children killed by an officer. And when he stormed, it was them taking back the sky. I await the second coming, when every police officer removes their ski mask, so we can see all the faces responsible for the blood running into classrooms, filling in for children who would never make it back to class alive. The newscast said, "There's a flood warning," which is to say, it's a blood warning. Before I could read, I learned to fear a cop's trigger finger. Tamir's ghost and all his dead allies climb up a light post, shouting, "Fuck the alive, now can you hear me?" Part 2. Former colleagues said, Tamir used to run the streets after school. He was a problem student, as if he needed to be killed, as if bullets were his salvation, as if he needed to be saved. When a cop's gun becomes a savior complex. Part 3. During my first year teaching, we hung photos of Tamir on the bulletin board, hung the letters we wrote to his mother. I was told to take them down because it wasn't age appropriate, as if children are too young to know when they have been shot. Now, Raja will write a poem. She shared a poem she wrote in response to that.
Yeah, Elijah McClain in 3 parts. After Tamir in 3 parts by Quartez. Part 1. When I heard Elijah used to be a violinist, I picked up my own bow and tried to make music of his memory. Spreading rosin across the hairs felt like grinding his bones into baby powder, or spreading his ashes onto my floor. When I dragged my bow across the strings, I tried to make a vibration strong enough to shake his casket, maybe make him dance a little like a living boy would. I always felt that whenever one of us Black kids are murdered, we each become a different note of the same song. And every chord that rings from a Black orchestra is a group of Black children snatching back their voices and clinging one last breath of air. I think maybe, if we play loud enough, Elijah's blood will start dripping from police officers' ears, because our music will sound like nothing but lost children who just got their last chance to scream. There's no escaping this now. Listen to their song. Let it be the last lullaby for the animals Elijah played for in the shelter, and the ear-piercing melody of revenge resurrecting. Can you hear that beautiful music? Part 2. Everyone I told Elijah's story asked why no one stopped him from wearing a ski mask at night. Didn't he get his proper Black boy training? Don't we teach our children not to look suspicious? As if he was to blame for his murder. Like he failed some test you take to keep your life. Like he deserved to have ketamine in his veins instead of blood. Part 3. I read my sister Elijah McClain's last words. Told her the way he strung his words together reminded me of her. She laughed, and I thought maybe she was just too young to understand, even though she could be next.
My God. Y'all hear that? And I love that line, Raja. If we play loud enough, maybe blood will start dripping out of police's ears. Oh my God. Even the line, the last lullabies animals will ever hear. And we have one more for you. Raja, I found the Hounds one, so if you want to read your Hounds, and then I'll read my poem in response to that, and then we can be pretty much done. And
All right.
So your turn.
Hounds. I don't usually say the title before I start. This is weird. Henry Watson, a former fugitive slave, recounts in his narrative. There are men who do nothing else but hunt fugitive slaves with hounds that are so well trained that they do, as they advertise, take slaves without scarring them enough to injure their value. But did you hear that last bit? Enough to injure their value. That part got to me. because they must have had some damn good dog trainers for their time. If they could train a dog not to rip off nimble cotton-picking fingers, and they can train a dog to know how much force is enough, and they could train a dog not to kill a man just because the future of a country is packed on his shoulders, it's funny. They could train a hound not to suck the value from a slave, yet we can't stop a man in uniform from pressing his knee into throats, punching the beauty out of faces, firing bullets into craniums in front of small children, and basically destroying any small speck of value that might be left in the bodies of the young, emancipated, citizenship-wielding, equal, and desegregated Black lives that matter just as much as the white or the blue. I guess we've stopped training our hounds. Or maybe we just need to retrain their snouts. They might be following the wrong scent. Don't know what they're looking for. Don't know they ain't still catching runaways. Don't know yet that we've discovered value outside of the nimble, cotton-picking fingers. I think we should retrain our hounds. But ain't it hard to teach an old dog new tricks? I mean, after all, the one that got Philando Castile was 29. And that's a hell of a lot in dog years.
Wow. Thank you, Raja. And I tried to honor that poem with this poem. And I love that poem. So I was honored to even try to write a response poem or a magnet poem. So yeah, it's definitely not nearly as good, but it's something, okay? So here we go. When a police officer assumes the power of a slave master, After Hounds by Raja Freeman. Former police officer recounts after a Black boy is laid to rest in a field of dead bullets. I thought my body was in danger. Slave masters could evade from punitive law for using the teeth of a whip or the mouth of noose against his enslaved property by saying, I was reprimanding my slave, who then resists. Did you hear that last bit? Reprimanding my slave, who then resists. That bit dug a nail in me, because if a slave master got away with yanking out the life of his slave with a hook for simply saying he resists, then of course a police officer can get away with knowing how many bullets it took to kill a Black girl or boy or woman or man simply by saying, I thought my body was in danger. And yet, we can't stop slave masters from becoming police officers and their whips from becoming guns, tying ropes around throats, whipping the flesh out of Black skin in front of their own children, a police bullet bleeding internally from striking a Black boy, and a girl who once smiled just as their child smiled, who once danced just as their child danced, laughed just as their child laughs, but I guess they can't see their children through the mirror of a Black body, don't know what they are looking at, don't know when they kill us, they kill themselves. I think we should unbury our dead and tell them, ain't it hard to teach them how to resurrect? I mean, after all, you shot our sons and daughters. They were only human, and that's a lot of blood that we will always lose. A response poem to Raja's Hounds. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for your time. Any last comment, any last reactions, anything?
I loved it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I don't know how you just happened to share so many of my poems just now. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed hearing your poems again.
Thank you. That was totally unintentional. That was not planned at all. So thank you for that organic experience. Thank you so much. And Daniel, can I please, where can I buy that James Baldwin image in the background? I need that.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. What a way to begin a day, right? I love that we're beginning and we're ending with poetry. It's my favorite genre, probably because it's the one that's most like music. So we are coming back at 10:15 with Justice and Inclusiveness in the Modern Southern Periodical, an editor's roundtable. Don't forget to hit those donation links before you leave the room. And remember, if you are watching after we're live, the links are live even when we are not. We will see you guys in about 15